Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books, and I've been covering Marvel and Disney very closely these last several months. Marvel has created a total disaster of their studio. Results are poor, quality is bad. Guardians of the Galaxy seems to be doing about in the same kind of range as Quantumania. Maybe it'll do a little better. It's got to get better word of mouth than Ant-Man and Quantumania did. Also, the movie is a completed movie. It's not this half-finished script, half-finished special effects disaster that Ant-Man and Quantumania was. Is that movie going to make money? Disney does all kinds of funny things with their accounting, so it will make some money, but it's basically the end of the Marvel franchise. Kevin Feige, who was there from the earliest days of Marvel when they created their own studio, has failed everyone who depended on him to keep the quality good. There is going to be change at Marvel, there's no question about it. They're making some fast moves now, and they're trying to, quote, fix things, end quote. But they're not going to be fixed. Momentum is lost. When you're producing things and you have momentum, you have customers, you have fans who are interested in what it is that you're making, they're telling their friends about it, they're excited about it, and then there's this meta effect. This effect with this larger story that builds the brand so that anything that's a Marvel title is kind of tied in with a larger world. That's magical. And when it was done right in the comic, it was magical. It hasn't been that way probably since the 1980s. There were a lot of exciting comics that Marvel produced here and there, even in the 90s, but the writing was never correct. The editorial was never correct. They blew up the Marvel house style. There was a look and feel to Marvel movies during Marvel Phase 1 as they decided they needed to introduce female superheroes because Marvel, just like they did with Star Wars, Marvel needed to also appeal to females. So we have to have female superheroes. And without figuring out how to work them into the story, and without making those characters, again, just like they did with Rey in Star Wars, without making characters earn their powers, master their abilities in an appropriate way, not trying to make them the most powerful character in the universe immediately and tougher and better than all the other male characters, of course they weren't going to be accepted by the fans. Then Disney Plus launched. Bob Iger set it up pretty well. He had Kevin Mayer running it. Kevin Mayer was a very talented Disney executive. He thought he was going to get the position to take over for Bob Iger when Bob Iger was leaving, and a lot of us did. But Bob Iger decided he wanted to push for getting Bob Chapek in there, who was not really an accomplished creative executive or a really brilliant business guy. Chapek was running theme parks and doing fine with that, but that's kind of its own world. Kevin Mayer did such a fantastic job launching Disney Plus. He was running all of their streaming, but once he didn't get the position of CEO, he went off to TikTok and then wound up leaving TikTok. Now there are rumors that Kevin Mayer may come back and be the CEO of Disney. And if he does, he's pretty no nonsense. He actually could probably do a decent job of it. They still have all kinds of problems, but he's moved on since and become this investor and entrepreneur with his own media companies. And I followed him a little bit. What I've seen him talk about is really not woke stuff. It's about pleasing fans. So the potential for Kevin Mayer to do something good with Disney would actually be very high. No matter who is CEO of Disney and what resources they have to work with and what attitudes they have, they've destroyed their company. It's horrendous to see what they've done to the Marvel brands, the Star Wars brand, the Pixar brands. Now, recent rumors, Marvel knows that their movies are not that good and they're trying to course correct and produce better films with higher paid writers. Of course they needed to do this, particularly when they decided they wanted to expand. When you're producing things, now I talk about how I've published more than 1,000 comic books. Most of those were published over a 3-year period. The way that was accomplished was hiring people I knew I could depend on. And in addition, we needed to set up a studio. So we had writers, artists, letterers, all working in an in-house studio. It was pretty exciting. We got a lot accomplished. And if you don't know that you can count on your production to get done, how are you going to make anything and get it out the door? In the case of Marvel, they just hired whoever basically seemed to want to work on the projects. It wasn't merit-based. They had a lot of first-time people working on writing and directing, and of course, a lot of woke priorities rather than people who were accomplished and really understood the characters. It got so bad that Nate Moore, a producer and VP at Marvel, said they particularly don't like to hire people that want to directly adapt comic books that they love from Marvel because they want new takes on the characters. They don't want the classic takes that everybody likes, loves, and expects. Let's get into this article from Bounding Into Comics. Before we do, please be sure you're subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. A relatively recent rumor claimed there's no question that the executives know the movies aren't good. There's two ways they find out. One, audience feedback. Two, there are no executives at Disney who aren't able to watch a movie and say, okay, we see this kind of doesn't work. They know it doesn't work. A big problem is they're concerned with pushing their progressive Marxist agendas, and that is a higher priority for them than producing good content. But they certainly know their content isn't good. The new rumor comes from Scuba Jeff Snyder during a recent appearance on the Hot Mic podcast with YouTuber John Rocca. Snyder details Marvel's got a secret that's hiding in plain sight. I'll tell you what the secret is. The secret is that they know that their movies are not that good. They know that the scripts in particular have been pretty bad. And that's why, if you've been paying attention to the last few weeks or months, you will note that Marvel's been spending a lot more money on writers. Snyder then pointed to the hiring of True Detective and the Magnificent Seven remake screenwriter Nick Pizzolatto being brought on to the troubled Blade film, Terminator Dark Fate, Foundation, Avatar The Way of Water, and Snowpiercer writer Josh Friedman joined the Fantastic Four film Beef creator Lee Song-jin, penning Thunderbolt. Quote, pay attention, guys, Snyder said. They're not going out to the newbie writers anymore. They're going out to some heavy hitters for writers. That's the Marvel secret that no one's talked about yet. They're now paying for writers, meaning they're paying a higher fee, because they realize these effing scripts have got to be better because our audience is going to turn on us. Quote, it can't go on forever. We go to the movie, or at least I do, because I'm not an idiot. I go for an effing story. So tell me a good story. And all of that is in the script. It starts on the page. Well, I mean, of course, but it's not just a script. You know, whether they pay $1 million here or $1 million there for a script, they're going to spend, $150, $200 million or more on production for the whole thing. This is tremendous negligence. This is an absurdity. There's no reason to not spend an extra couple of dollars to get a quality script out of people. The problem was trying to find up-and-coming talent who are passionate about an idea of what they want to do to change Marvel to fit the woke agenda is what these idiots were doing. That, and they were also sourcing people out of their TV division from Disney Plus. When I first heard about that, I thought people weren't serious, because to have someone writing TV episodes is incredibly different than them writing a theatrically produced film. It just makes no production sense whatsoever, except if you care nothing about how it comes out and you're only concerned about people that promise to promote a certain agenda and you want to change the characters. If you want to make the characters unrecognizable and the stories unrecognizable and the universe unrecognizable, except for the little Marvel logo, the Marvel logo stays the same. But if you want to make everything else unrecognizable, sure, then that's what you do. Let me know what you think of that in the comments below. While Snyder claims it's a secret, readers abounding into comics, great website, have been in on this secret for quite some time, also on Cosmic Book News. Back in February, the Walt Disney Company CEO Bob Iger heavily implied the content coming out of their film studios, including Marvel Studios, was subpar. During the company's first quarter earnings results call, Iger answered a question from Michael Nathanson of Moffett-Nathanson. While answering the question, he said, additionally, we're going to lean more into our franchises, our core franchises, and our brands. I talked about curation and general entertainment. We have to be better at curating the Disney and the Pixar and the Marvel and the Star Wars brands of it all. Iger also said he didn't think that they could continue to put out sequels at an investor conference, character sequels. And he's right about that, because they have no idea how to put out character sequels, because their agenda is, once we've released a successful project like Black Panther, the sequel that they put out that wasn't even focused on the character, that should have been called The World of Wakanda, while they claim it made money and there's funny accounting tricks showing that they made some money on it, of course it didn't do as well as the original Black Panther, and of course it wasn't a real sequel because it didn't focus on the regular character. Additionally, even in Ant-Man Quantumania, which was a terrible movie, it wasn't focused on Ant-Man. It was focused on other characters related to him. Completely ridiculous. In addition to hiring new writers who actually have screen credentials, Feige is also reportedly changing his strategy on MCU director hiring. And the thing is, there's no reason to just not hire people who can do the job. If you have the budget, it's absolutely ridiculous to try to hire people who can't necessarily do the job. I always loved hiring people that didn't have experience and giving them their first chance to work professionally in comic books. I did it with a lot of comic book creators. One big success story was Adam Polina. He went on to work on the X-Men and other cool projects after he worked with us. But what you need to do when you hire someone who doesn't have experience is have someone over them that can help them out so that when their work comes out and it's released to the public, it reaches a certain standard. This is not something that Marvel or Kevin Feige was ever capable of doing, and you know if they're capable of doing it or not. They knew they couldn't do it. They just somehow didn't care and got distracted. I don't know how they got distracted, but they got distracted and produced some terrible stuff. So at least they're getting serious about what they're producing. This does mean, though, it's impossible for them to get their momentum back. They're not going to get continuity back. They will do separate standalone films that are of measurably better quality. But if they don't get rid of the silly woke agenda, the stories won't stand up and the quality won't stand up. There have been a lot of rumors about franchise fatigue. This is coming from the Ithacan, the modern era of superhero fatigue. And what's funny is they show superheroes, of course, get rid of Captain Marvel. The rest of the superheroes, well, maybe this one too, but the rest of the superheroes, people were actually interested in these characters. The momentum was working. The universe was working. It's not superhero fatigue. It's woke superhero fatigue. And as this article points out, there can be all sorts of claims of superhero fatigue, but despite audiences claiming franchise fatigue, supposedly, prequels, sequels, and extended universes remain the most popular streaming titles. People are interested in this content. It's just a matter of the content being done properly. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Do you think it makes sense that Kevin Feige is hiring professional writers to do future Marvel projects? Do you think it makes sense that he's hiring experienced directors to do future Marvel projects? Why would he have ever done anything other than that if he had the budget to do it in the first place? Additionally, do you agree about this franchise fatigue is not franchise fatigue? It's woke superhero fatigue. It's ruining the characters and pushing silly agendas rather than just telling a good story. And the big difference between a woke superhero and a not woke superhero is a superhero that goes through challenges and a change and was well written. If the character doesn't change, if the character doesn't overcome things, it's bad writing, whether it's woke or not. And if it's bad writing, it's a forgettable garbage project. Let me know what you think of that too in the comments below. Always appreciate your comments. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.